Welcome to Get It the podcast. Thank you all for being back. If it's your first time, thank you for being here too. If it's not, thank you for watching another episode once again. So, as you can see, we have another guest for the podcast. We have one of my dear friends who is gonna take the time to come out here and have a little casual conversation on a very, I think, interesting topic. So without further ado, I'm gonna ask her to go ahead and introduce herself and tell us who she is.
Hi everyone, my name is Mimi. Who am I? It's always a tough question to ask and to answer actually. But I'm the daughter of two Mexican immigrants. Mm-hmm. My parents come from the state of Guanajuato. And I have 3 brothers and the only daughter. And I was born in Salinas. I was raised in the area as well. Right now I'm working on my teacher credential. Mm-hmm. And I've been working for the district that I'm at for about 16 years, I want to say. And I've done a little bit of everything from being a student supervisor to a substitute teacher, and now I'm a teacher. So that's
you've done it all already, huh?
Yeah.
She's an OG veterana teacher. It's interesting when I asked you that question, right? Like, who am I? I took a training, and that was one of the practices that you're supposed to do the activity with the partner, and you're supposed to look at each other in the eye and just ask each other, like, who are you, right? And then, like, I remember some people would get really nervous and like, well, who the fuck am I? Who am I? But a lot of people started saying, right, like, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm funny, like, I'm nice. But it's a pretty deep activity too. So if anybody wants to try that exercise at home,
because not only that, but you also start thinking like, oh, how much should I say? Can I trust this person to tell him or her, like, everything about me? Like,
that's true.
It's a tough question.
It's a tough question. Yeah. So it has to do with safety, right?
Yes.
Do I feel
definitely
safe with this person? Mm-hmm. Do they have the right to know, like, the real me, right?
Yeah.
So that's true. That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the last episode, actually, her brother was here as well. So she just said that she has 3 siblings. So one of them was the guest who was on the last episode as well. And so I asked him, how did we meet? And we were just talking about it right now. But what can you recall from the first time we met?
So my older brother is actually also a teacher, and he was working with you. Mm-hmm. You guys were doing what at that time was called SELT testing, which is a test for students, for those of you that don't know, that are English language learners. So that's how you two met. Mm-hmm. And then at the time I was working as a student supervisor. Mm-hmm. And he came over and he started talking to me, and then he introduced you to me. It wasn't until the following year that we started, like, hanging out, because you were working for the migrant program for the district. And then I started doing CELT as well. So we were in the same office, and that's how we got to know each other.
I remember that.
And that was like many moons ago.
So that was probably, like, we still don't know for sure, but we're thinking like
2013, somewhere around there.
So like 11, 12 years ago, huh?
It's been a while.
Mm-hmm. And the rest is history.
Yes, definitely.
So here we are today. We actually have like her brother and my siblings downstairs too. They're watching the UFC fight. So I'm like, okay, I gotta catch Noemi and, like, just take advantage and interview her too. So, okay. So again, because this podcast is really focused on the well-being, on mental health and self-care and all of that too. I want to know, like, how do you define mental health, and what importance does that play? Or what role does it play in your life?
I think mental health, the way that I see it, is just a way of coping with different issues that you might have. and everybody has their own way of coping with it and dealing with it as well.
Yeah.
There's different practices that each and every person uses in order for them to be able to have some sort of healthy mental, I guess, stability, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
For me, the way that I use or that I try to keep my mental stability is just to I pretty much shut down.
Oh, okay.
I like being by myself. For the most part, I just sit in my room, watch TV, or listen to music, or even read. But I do it by myself.
Oh.
I just like my alone time.
Your alone time. Yeah.
So that's how I cope with my mental health.
With your mental health. Yeah. So when do you? I'm gonna ask you something else about mental health. How do you recognize when your mental health is not at its best? How do you know?
I think that I become irritated a little bit more.
Okay.
I'm usually a very calm person.
Yeah.
But I think that in order for me to stay that way, I just need to get away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when I know that I need to okay.
You need to take some time for yourself and distance yourself. Yeah. So then you disconnect and you do things like read books or watch TV or and that's interesting, right? Because everybody copes very differently. Some people, some people need some time by themselves. They need to be in their solitude and quiet space. And then some people no, I need to go out. I need to be with friends. I need to socialize, or I need to go out for a run or something. So I think that's why I always find it very interesting to see how people cope with their mental health too. Okay. All right. Well, okay. So for today's episode, I had asked Noemi what she. It feels weird to call you Noemi. We have a nickname for each other too, but just for the sake of this episode, I'll call her Noemi. I'm not going to disclose a nickname, but so I asked her what do you think we should talk about, and she said that doesn't matter, right? I think she was down for whatever.
Yes.
So then I thought about it and I said I feel in a way we can relate on this topic, and that has to do with being the eldest daughter in a Latino family, right? So in this case, you can tell them a little bit about. You said it already. You have 3 siblings, so you're the only daughter.
Yes.
Right. And you're not the oldest sibling,
I'm not.
Right? No. So you have 2 older
Two
siblings.
older brothers. Yeah.
So you're the one after. So you're the third.
I'm the third one.
You have
and I think that's what we share in common as well.
Yeah.
The third child.
Yeah, I'm the third child. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. But in my case, I'm the middle child, right? But I am the third child. So, being the eldest daughter, or just being a daughter in general in a Latino family, can come with a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure sometimes as well, and a lot of responsibilities, right? So. Before we get to that, the nitty-gritty, I want to know, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood? How would you describe that?
I had a great childhood. My parents were always there for us. So I had great parents. I know that with my brothers, we tend to bicker with each other and stuff, but even being the only daughter, I feel that I was blessed. Because I do have a good relationship with them. Yeah. So I mean, my childhood was good.
Yeah. You describe it as something really positive. Do you have any specific memories that you can recall as part of your childhood?
Oh man.
I know there's probably a lot of them, but anything that sticks out for you?
Involving with my brothers,
with your brothers and with your parents as well.
With my brothers, I want to say that
you're fighting them, wrestling them.
I wouldn't say that being outside. We used to live in a trailer where it was there was a bunch of land. Basically, or at least that's how we saw it because we were little at the time.
Oh yeah.
So now that I pass by there, oh my god, that's small. But we used to just ride our bikes, be outside, just hang out, and we would just hang out with each other and play whatever. I mean, I would always follow them because I didn't have anyone else to play with. Yeah. And there were, at the time, the younger one wasn't born yet, so I would follow the 2 oldest ones, even though they probably didn't like it. But I'm hey, I'm the only one that. I don't have anybody else.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that doing that, or having them was a good experience, and that's something that I remember. They taught me how to ride a bike without my training wheels. And a funny story about that is that my dad ran over my tricycle.
Oh no!
Yeah, so I stupidly left my tricycle behind the car, and he backed out because he was gonna go somewhere, and he ran over my bicycle. So he was scared because he thought that I was on the bike. Oh yeah. But luckily I wasn't, and it was just a little scare that he had. Yeah. So that's how I learned how to ride an actual bicycle without the training wheels. And my brothers were the ones that taught me how to do that. Oh, so, okay.
Yeah. So because of that incident, like you were forced to ride like a regular bike, right?
And I think I might have been like maybe like around 4 or 5.
Oh, you were
so
small.
I was small.
Yeah.
I was small. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's funny. And then your brothers were the ones that showed you how to ride a bicycle too. So, all right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And then, so I'm wondering, I mean, it sounds like you had a really good childhood, and do you remember ever experiencing any like challenges too, while growing up that you can recall of?
Challenges? I don't think so. No, I can't think of any challenge that I might have had. Other than the fact that like maybe we didn't have everything that we wanted. Yeah. Because my dad was the only one that worked. And we were just living off of his income. Yeah. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so we didn't have a lot. But I don't think that in itself was a challenge. Because it taught us how to evaluate like what we did have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So like so in one of my episodes I talked a little bit about how like my mom also stopped working. Like she eventually was a housewife too, and I felt like really thankful for that because she was the one that would wake us up in the mornings to go to school, and then she would greet us at the door when we got home, and then we always had a dinner too. So do you think your experience as a child would have been different if your mom would have been
probably, yeah.
Not that she didn't, because it's a full-time job taking care of kids, right? But
if she would have worked outside the house, I think that a lot of the responsibility would have fallen on us. Yeah. Not necessarily on me, per se, but on us having to like, fix dinner for ourselves. Like you said, wake up on our own. On your own. To go to school. I think that even parent conferences. I remember that like my mom would be the one that would go to our conferences because usually they were before my dad got out of work. And at the time we didn't, I mean, now that I'm a teacher, like I know that we have a day where we could like set up appointments or whatever conferences for the afternoon. Right. But at the time I didn't know that. Yeah. I just got what the teacher gave me and I would tell my mom, hey, this is when I have my conference. So she was the one that would go to the conferences for the most part. I don't remember my dad going to them, but they would talk to each other and they would, they would communicate. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think that if she wouldn't have been there, I think that it would have been a little bit tougher. That would have been a little bit different. Huh? And it actually did get tough for us a bit because there was a time when she did go to work and we all got sick. Really? Again, this time wasn't born yet. So it was just a 3-oldest and she left us with the babysitter and the babysitter was pretty much our next door neighbor. But we all got sick. Really? And that's when my dad told her, you know what? No, you're staying home. You're staying with your kids. Take care of them. Do you think you got sick because you were now exposed to or because your body felt your mom's absence? Yeah, and probably. Then your immune system probably weakened, right? Yeah, it just crashed. Just crashed. I know. Yeah. I'm like, because it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. Yeah, and then she just stopped working and then she just took care of us and the household and stuff like that. Yeah, I know. It's tough, right? I don't remember. I think I was left with the babysitter a few times, but it was when I was really little. But I remember always being very, very attached to my mom more than my dad, I would say. Did you feel anything, any difference or no? I think that I was attached to both of them. To both of them equally? Equally. Yeah. Because even though my dad did leave the house for work, he was still there. He was still present. He was never an absent dad. So he always took care of us as well. Yeah, so he was very hands-on. And that's one thing that my mom is always grateful for as well. She always tells us, we have an uncle that's not very helpful towards my aunt.
Got it.
But my dad, whenever like my mom needed to get ready to go out, she would be like feeding us or whatever, and he'd be like, go take care of yourself, get ready, I'll feed them. Or I'll change them, I'll do this, I'll do that for them. So I think that that's one thing that like my mom was always grateful for as well.
That's so awesome. Yeah. And that's very rare, right?
Yeah.
Like that's definitely not
especially in a Latino, especially in a Latino household.
So for your dad to be, that involved, because a lot of the men, right, they're the providers and they work all day, they come home and they're tired, right, and they don't even have like the energy to want to interact. They just want to get home and eat and rest. But it sounds like your dad was the opposite, where he still spend time with you guys, and so that's awesome. That's really good to hear. So speaking about the like kind of norms, right, too, what about for you? Like, what do you think were some of the expectations that maybe like were imposed on you at an early age? Like, for example, I'll tell you one of mine, right? And I was reading something about this earlier, and I was like, oh shit, like that was my mom too. But like, okay, so say for example, when my mom was cooking, she would tell me like, oh, ven para que aprendas a cocinar, porque después un día, cuando te cases, para que sepas, right? And so automatically that's her saying like, well, this is like, I'm trying to teach you so that when you get married one day, like you can cook for your husband. Just, okay, that's fine. But what about like, shouldn't that just be a basic skill, right?
Yeah.
And that's more for survival purposes. But that was more like ingrained in my head where it's like, well, I have to learn how to cook because I need to be able to provide for my husband one day when I get married. Did your mom ever kind of say any of those little underlying messages too?
You know what? She would, like especially when she would make something like mole.
Like mole, yeah. Something that requires like a higher skill.
Yes. Because not everybody's mole is equal.
Yeah, exactly. And I still haven't tried your mom's mole, but I want to try it.
But I think that like things like that, it was more like I would go and look at what she was doing so that I could help her do whatever it was that she was doing. It wasn't so much like she was telling me, oh, this is what you need to learn in order for you to be able to provide for your husband or whatever. To this day, like I hate cooking. I'll only cook when I want to. And if someone asks me, oh, can you make this for us? Like my brothers? I'm like... So I do it, but I don't do it like so willingly.
Oh yeah.
So like even though I don't cook a lot, like my food is actually okay. So I won't starve if I were to live on my own. Right. And I have I have left left the house when I went to school and stuff like that.
And I want to talk about that too. So thank you for reminding me.
So but for her to actually tell me, come so that you could learn, so that you could cook for your husband or for your partner or whatever it might be. No, she never did that. She never did that.
Good.
I think that because she was never told as well, even though she was the oldest. I don't think that my grandma ever told her come and learn. I think it was just my mom wanting to learn so that she could help my grandma. So I think that that's one thing that like I could say about my mom, that she's with that, like she won't. She won't. So it's not like an expectation of hers for you to learn how to cook for the sake of someone else, not yourself, right? Okay. I think that it's more for me to learn how to do it so that I can do it for myself if I want to do it.
Okay. How about is there anything else that you can think of that maybe like an expectation that was put on you that you were not really I guess fully in agreement with, or that you were okay with, that just kind of was placed on you?
Taking care of them. Taking care of my parents.
Taking care of your parents.
Because with my mom, I go to her appointments. Like all of her doctor's appointments, I'm there. And the reason for that is because one, she doesn't know how to read or write. And another is because if I let her go by herself, she's not going to be able to give us the information that the doctor gave her.
Got it.
So even though she'll probably understand some of it, she still won't like grasp everything. So like in order for me to be aware of what's going on with her health or anything else, like I'm the one that goes with her. So I think that I took the initiative
Right.
But I would like for my brothers to like jump in sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that burden could
be off of
be
you,
off
right?
of you at least once in a while.
Once in a while. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that too. For me, like the reason why I do it sometimes too is because this is what my mom tells me. She goes, "Oh, es que me siento más a gusto porque tú sabes más."
Yes.
Right, and I'm like, okay, well, because I know more, like I'll go with her, right?
Y porque eres mujer.
Y porque eres mujer también, y me siento más cómoda. Yeah. So like I get that, right? Like it provides a sense of comfort, but sometimes like we're busy too, dude. Like we have shit to do.
Yeah.
So it would be nice for for our siblings to kind of step in once in a while as well. But
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because I feel that like even so I would like that. I think I'm still like, okay, I have to go.
Yeah.
I have to be there.
Yeah.
Like I can't just not.
Right. And it's already like ingrained in you, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one that's aware of everything that's going on.
Yeah. And you keep track of the appointments and everything.
Yeah. And if they ask them, oh, what did the other doctors tell her or something,
you're the holder of that information.
I'm the holder of that information.
Yeah. That's true. That makes sense. Yeah. That reminds me of like growing up too, and then being placed the responsibility of like translating and interpreting for them too. Did you experience that as well?
Yeah.
More than your siblings, you feel?
No, I think that the translators for the most part were Octavio and myself.
Okay, yeah.
Octavio is my older brother.
Yeah.
So I think that it fell on both of us to like, I don't know why though. Like,
yeah.
I think that we're just like, we're gonna take charge and we're gonna go for it. So I think that that's the reason, like, the reason why it landed more on us than it did on my other two brothers. So.
Yeah, I know. Do you think it has to do with like, just like personalities, or do you feel like it's more of like a control thing? Because I think for me sometimes it is like I feel like I need to have control, and I'm like, no, like I don't trust other people to do it for them. Like I trust myself in knowing that I'm gonna translate or interpret this well for my parents. But if I place this responsibility on my brother, I don't know if they're gonna be able to do it.
I think that they're both capable. I mean, I think we're all capable, but I think that I'm more aware of the Spanish language than they are.
Yeah.
Even with Octavio, like, I think that I have a better grasp of the Spanish language.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they could. They have the potential to be able to translate. But I think that's just the reason why. Like I just do it. I don't know. And then all the paperwork that comes to our house from my mom and that's on my. In my room. In my room.
Oh, like at one point, it in there?
At one point or another, with my mail, like they'll put it in my room, and
it's all piled up. Oh my gosh.
I'm responsible for reading all of that information. And even though my dad passed away, like his mail still comes, or he still receives mail, and it still lands in my room.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was before all my mom's mail would come to me, and my dad's mail, I would take care of it when he was still living with us.
Oh, okay.
But now like everything lands on me.
On me. There's like another level of responsibility too, right? So then I'm thinking back too because so I don't know if you mind, right? But so Noemi went to UCLA and she graduated from UCLA, and so when you left your house to go to school, knowing that you were already kind of responsible for these things, like how did that make you feel, knowing that you were going to leave for a few years and like you were not going to be there anymore to take care of that piece?
I tried not to think about it.
Yeah.
Because I needed to focus on getting an education.
Yeah.
So things fell on my other brother. Because at the time, Octavio was at UCLA when I left.
Because you guys left together?
No, he left the year before I did.
Okay.
And all the responsibility fell on my other brother, my other older brother.
The oldest one? Yeah.
And it was more so like the financial situation. He would be the one that would help my dad because it was just the two of them working at the time, and both myself and Octavio were at UCLA.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure. I've never had a discussion with them to see how like they did all the paperwork together or whatnot, but it was just them two working and taking care of the financial situation. So when I was in LA, like I was just worried about that and taking care of that.
Right. So you try to just kind of shut it down, not think about it too much.
I mean, it wasn't like I could do anything anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 300 miles away.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like,
did they ever call you? Like,
we would call each other every time.
Okay, yeah. But
not with my brothers.
Okay.
It was more with my mom. I would always report with her and talk to her for a bit, and then with my dad, I don't remember. I know I would always call home, and my mom would usually be the one that we would talk to. So
okay. Yeah. I asked about that process too because, so for me, like my first time moving out was obviously when I came to live here, right? Moving out with my partner, and for me, I felt like guilt moving out because I felt like I was leaving behind my parents, and that was it was hard for me to do that too, right? Like I had a bunch of mixed emotions, but then I also knew like, well, this is part of life, right? Like I'm an adult now, like I have to move on to experience life apart from my parents, right? Did anything like that come up for you when you left?
I can't think that I did feel that.
Yeah. Was it more excitement? Or
nervousness, I think.
Yeah.
Because I had already been away from home. I did visit my uncle. He flew me over to Utah for about a month.
Oh, okay.
When I was 17. So like I was so young.
Yeah.
It was just for the summer, but it was a month that I was over there with him. So like I had already been away from home at least for a while. So when I went to UCLA, I didn't feel that. I mean, nervousness from being away from home.
Yeah.
Because it's what I know.
Yeah.
And I was going into, even though I was going to live with my brother, I was going to live with someone that I didn't really know either.
Yeah, in a big ass city.
Exactly, that too. Luckily, I hit it off with my roommate. We're still friends to this day.
Yeah.
Comadres, actually.
Oh, okay.
So, like, she's one of my good friends. And with Octavio, like, living with him too.
Yeah.
So to say that I felt guilty in that sense, I didn't. Okay. I know that if I were to leave now, that's when that guilt would come in. Yeah. Because like again, everything falls on me. So like if I leave, who's gonna take care of everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that because again, you're the feeling of you having to be there, right, and to take care of your mom, do you feel like it's ever kind of like preventing you from doing certain things? Like, is there certain things that you'd want to do?
Yeah, I think so. Just doing things on my own.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about like her.
Someone else.
Right? Yeah. So I think that that's one thing that does kind of like prevent me from doing a lot of things, like just going away. Yeah.
Like just freely, right?
Yeah. I've done it, but it's just for the weekend and someone else stays with her. Funny story is that last December, we decided that we were going to go to Disneyland. Esteban decided that he was going to go to Las Vegas, and then that fell through because at the time we were planning it, I told her, I can't leave you by yourself. So you're going to have to come with us. Yeah. We're all going, except for Esteban. He's doing something else because his birthday is in December. So like... she didn't want to go, but I told her, I'm not going to leave you by yourself. You don't have to go to Disneyland the whole time that we're there. Yeah. But at least experience it. Right. And so she budged and she went with us. She was mostly in the hotel when we would be at the park. Yeah. And when on New Year's Eve, it was when we took her. And she's like, I didn't like it. Yeah. So like with that, like I can't leave the house for such a long time unless someone is there with her. Yeah. Yeah. Because again, she doesn't know how to read or write, and if she needs something, like she won't be able to get around. And she won't be able to like get a hold of anybody and stuff like that. So like that's the reason why I don't like leaving her by herself. Yeah. Yeah. So I think about that all the time. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and again, right? I think you like. I mean, your parents have always been really good to you. I mean, I could say the same thing about my parents as well, and like sometimes we feel so conflicted. I don't know if you ever feel like that too, right? Where you're like, well, I love my parents, and yeah, I still feel this sense of responsibility to like check in with them and make sure that they're okay. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, can I just be a little selfish?
They have other children.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no,
yeah. But again, right? It's because
yes,
we're the females, we're the eldest, and we've been doing it for a
such a long time,
and they've gotten used to that too. So, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Because I think it's something that a lot of people don't really talk about, right? But it helps to know that there's so many people that can relate as well too, right? So now thinking back about like your younger self, right? Like growing up. And I think I asked this question to your brother too. Is there anything that you would tell your younger self now, with the things that you know now as an adult?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Whatever it is, just do it.
Yeah. Don't hold back. Just go for it and do it. Yeah. Yeah. So again, right? I think it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes too, because we gotta be okay first and foremost before we can take care of other people as well. Because sometimes we're trying to give and give, but we're on empty already too, right? So I know something that you've talked about a lot is like the wanting to travel, right? So do you foresee that in your plans too? Is that something that you feel you want to make happen?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I think that my first destination would actually be Italy.
Italy.
I want to visit Italy.
Yeah.
Like I want to go there. It's been on my bucket list for a long time.
For a long time.
I told my mom actually that if she wanted to go.
Yeah.
And
what'd she say?
I don't even remember what she said. I think that she said that yeah, but I don't think that she would be able to like make it all the way over there because she's not comfortable flying. So and it's a long trip.
It's a long trip.
So yeah. But yeah, definitely Italy is on my bucket list. Just like Europe.
Yeah, in general. Yeah. You will. Well, maybe we'll go together one day too. Is there somewhere where your mom would want to go? Like, is there like any place that like maybe you two would be able to take a trip together?
Other than her hometown?
Yeah.
I don't know. She's never really like mentioned
any place.
Yeah, in particular that she would want to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a conversation that we probably could have and
maybe ask her where she's willing to go. Yeah. In one of the episodes I mentioned that I'd want to take my parents to like a resort because in resorts you're actually able to relax, right? And then sometimes it's all inclusive as well. That's the choice that you want. But just to be able to walk to the beach and just sit down and then like get a drink and just eat whatever you want, I think that's more like it's like a slower pace for them, and I think they'd enjoy something like that too. But you know, it'd be nice to build those memories with their parents too, and then eventually us, you know, have our own memories as well. But all right, well, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Thank you for being so vulnerable and for sharing a lot.
I know, because I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
I think we had a conversation before about that.
I know.
But no, I mean, any questions that you
have? What would you tell someone who like has a lot of like expectations placed on themselves, right? Too, and that so I guess my question is like, how do you find balance? So how are you able to place boundaries when they're needed too? When you start feeling like, oh my God, like there's so much that's being put on me.
And like I said, I tend to just shut down.
Okay.
It's like even if they're talking to me about it, I'm just like quiet. I won't talk about it. So I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna. I just walk away.
Yeah.
So I think that's walking away from some of those. Responsibilities is not a bad thing sometimes.
And you feel like that's helped you out.
And that's helped me out. Yeah. Instead of like yelling at them and
being reactive, right? Yeah. That's always good too. Choosing to be the bigger person as well. Choosing your battles wisely too, right? Sometimes, because sometimes we can, when we're frustrated or already stressed out, then we can become very reactive and say things that maybe we don't mean. So, that's great. All right. Well, I think that takes us to the end. I want to thank you for being here. If you ever want to come back, please let me know. We'll continue this little charla as well. We have a bunch of other things that we can talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.